Welcome to another Knowledge Spark here at ArcTube. So far, we have been talking about many things, including digital and digital transformation. In today's video, we are going to talk about how digital transformation is applied in telecom space. When it comes to digital transformation, many think that it is something to do with technology. But in fact, digital transformation has many things. It actually looks at how the organization is transformed, how the business models are transformed, how the financial models are transformed, how the culture is transformed, and also how to use technology and how can we use technology to transform the business. In today's video, we are going to look at the technology aspect of digital transformation in telecom space. Before getting into the technical aspect of telco digital transformation, let's look at the business problem the telco industry is trying to solve for the last couple of years. One of the observations of the business problem is that the business problem has been quite consistent for the last several years. Now, the telecom industry was started with voice-centric business, offering voice as a service. Then with the inception of internet and internet-related technologies, and also the proliferation of personal computer and the other computers, we moved to the data dominant area in early 90s. Now since then, what we observe in telecoms networks is that the traffic, which is both the transported traffic, also the stored data, is increasing. Now to build these capabilities in telecom networks and systems and also in data centers, telecom companies have to invest a lot of money both in capital and operational. As traffic increases, the cost of building those capabilities in networks and systems also increases. Now on the other side, if you look at the revenue side of the telecom business, we see that telecom revenues are not increasing the way the telecom operators would want to. If you look at the number of customers, we see in many of the markets, in many countries, it is almost stagnated, meaning that it is saturated and the percentage penetration of telecom services, especially mobile, is over 100%. So on one side, we see the revenues are sort of flattening up and the number of customers kind of stagnated, and on the other side, we see the traffic is growing and all the cost is increasing. And as a result, now we have a decoupling between the network traffic and the revenues. And as we move from the voice dominant business era to data dominant business era, we see this gap is actually widening up. Now, why the telecom business has to be transformed is because we need to find a solution of this decoupling. The telecom industry wanted to find solutions to this problem. Now, one of the solutions from the technology aspect is the next generation network, or NGN. Now, before the NGN, we have something called OGN, or the old generation network. The old generation network is a network optimized for voice transport and voice services, using circuit switching technologies like time division multiplexing. But as we move from voice dominant business model to data dominant business model, and with the inception of internet and internet protocol type of applications, we transform the network from OGN to NGN. NGN, or next generation network, is instead of circuit switching, now it is packet switching. And we use technologies like internet protocol, or IP, and Ethernet. Now, NGN was able to address the problem to a certain extent, but still we cannot actually stop the growing traffic in today's data dominant business area. As a result, we still see the gap between traffic and revenue with a gap. So the industry was looking at solutions further. Now the next solution came about in terms of using the capabilities of software in next generation network, meaning that we're looking at things like automation, virtualization, and DevOps. So the network using software capabilities is referred to as a software generation network, or we use the capability called softwareization. Now, SGN or software generation network is nothing but the same next generation network, but the virtualized version of that. So we call it virtual NGN, meaning that we actually do not challenge any of the fundamental protocols of data transport, like the Internet Protocol, Ethernet, and the other protocols. Instead, what we are trying to do is actually to abstract the hardware capabilities to software and sort of emulate hardware in software space and use software more often in our day-to-day operations in running telecom networks. Now, when you move from OGN to NGN and then to SGN, we're trying to solve the problem that we have been discussing. Now, if you really look at it in a very wider perspective, what we are really trying to do in the telecom industry is actually to break away from the traditional hardware mindset to software mindset. Now, hardware mindset is actually dealing with hardware very often and also configuring the network elements and things associated in hardware. Instead, in a software generation network or with softwareization, what we are trying to do is to achieve the same thing or even more with software. So it's a shift from hardware to software. On the another perspective, if you look at, we are trying to also transform ourselves from network thinking to platform thinking. Now, the telecom industry is actually very often use the term networks in the access, in the transport, and also local area network, wide area network, etc. Now, if you take the cloud providers or over-the-top providers, they actually do not refer to a network. They refer to their capabilities as a platform. Now, the telecom industry is also trying to move away from the network mindset or the network type of thought process to something like a platform which actually offers the services to their end customers. So in a way, it is hardware to software and also from network to platform. Now, ultimately, what we are trying to achieve is to transform the telecom as a business. Now, what we have been talking so far is about the technology aspect of the transformation, but ultimately, what we are going to achieve is a business transformation. Now, the business transformation comes in the form of transforming from being a CSP or COSP to a DSP. Now, CSP actually stands for a couple of things. One is communication service provider, and also in some locations you see CSP being used to refer to a cloud service provider. So sometimes you use COSP instead of CSP to actually to sort out this ambiguity. Now, the whole objective of going from hardware to software or network to platform is actually to achieve this business transformation from CSP to DSP. Now, DSP stands for Digital Service Provider. It's a new term and everybody talks about that, but if you really look at what is a digital service provider, we need to actually understand it in two different ways. One is digital service provider, meaning that a service provider is actually using digital practices, things like automation, virtualization, DevOps, etc. within or internal to its organization and practice digital internally. The second one is digital services provider, meaning a provider providing digital services. That is something external. That is, we provide digital services to our customers and it is external. When you say a digital service provider, we have two angles to look at. One is the internal aspect, the second one is the external aspect. So when you combine both internal and external, then you get the real transformation to a DSP. I hope now it is clear to you the technology aspect of telco digital transformation, how you relate the real business problem to the business transformation, and how the business transformation is related to the technology transformation. But in today's video, we looked at things at very high level. I hope to go in deep in some of these things that we talked about today in our future videos. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
If you like this video and want to see more by Octube, make sure you subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button.